Hi guys, welcome to the stream and welcome to our Friday night special. We'll be doing a few of these over the next few weeks because there's a couple of seasons starting that we are quite interested in. So we thought we'd add these rather impromptu, shorter sessions, basically just to discuss a few bits and bobs as they were coming up. Today we're looking to discuss the first two episodes of Halo and basically our thoughts on how they've been received. How are you doing, Gray?
I'm doing good. Like you say, managed
Excited?
to get in. Yeah, managed to get the first two episodes of season 2 under my belt for Halo, and yeah, I got a few comments to be made. Maybe a comparison to season 1. We'll see. We'll see what we get on to tonight.
So, I mean, I guess there's no easy way to put it. It is, again, very much different from the games. I think you'd agree with that. Which was what a lot of the flack, season 1 got because of it. Some of it justified, some of it unjustified. It definitely seems to be more John the Man focused rather than Master Chief focused, which again was one of the big criticisms that it got in season 1. But it seems like it's even more so that way focused rather than, season 1. It seems like it's delving more into that rather than anything else. I mean, I didn't hate it. I found it mildly enjoyable, slow at parts, but it feels like it's all... I don't want to use the word filler, because obviously to say it's filler, it's just like trying to pad out the episode or anything like that, but it feels more like it's building blocks for what is to come, which, I mean, without giving the game away, it's probably going to be the fall of Reach. That's the feeling. So we're talking basically the Reach game with the fall of Reach, basically a precursor to the original Halo game. So I'm quite intrigued on how they do it, but they need to do it justice.
They do, because there's also an additional thing to compare it to, which was that YouTube web series that came out must have been like almost 10 years ago now or something, where they essentially did the fall of Reach, I think it was. They were like 20-minute episodes, but it was good. It had essentially John coming in to save a couple of recruits for the Navy or the Marines. So that is also...
You know what it is? I think I've watched that. And I think I didn't watch that on YouTube. I think Netflix might have gotten the rights for that or something stupid for a period.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, either way, that's something that once we actually see if you are indeed right, Ben, and we see the fall of Reach in this season, believe me, I will be making comparisons when the time comes, but that's probably getting a bit too far ahead of ourselves right now. But I will say season 2 starts off pretty much like season 1. It opens up with on a random planet, kind of in the outer system, and wouldn't you know, the Covenant are going to be attacking it, and the Spartans are there to try and save the day. I will say the Spartans in this opening episode, felt underused, because it's clearly the fight scene is just primarily John trying to save some Marines, and the other three...
I just have to jump in. What the hell was with the graphics during the quick move parts with John? Like, I don't know what they'd done, but it clearly felt like they'd either touched up him, or it wasn't even the actor at all, and it was actually like a CGI basically character that was moving, because there was just instances where if they'd made like a massive budget Halo and had basically, basically animated cutscenes of a really high quality, that probably could have been from a game. It felt when I was seeing it, there was just something wrong, like quite considerably wrong with the way that he was moving and the way that he looked. It didn't look human.
I agree. There was some rubberiness to some of the movements, and I don't think it helped with the fact that there was fog also. And it's something I've noticed in the fight scenes is there's a lot of shaky camera work, and I guess it's intentional, but it really, for me, it puts me off some of the scenes because especially when he is dodging, moving, and there's several opponents, I want to be able to see clearly him doing the dodging, and the fighting. I don't want it to be unnecessarily bouncy for some reason that I can't perceive.
It's the fast moving camera. Like the camera moves so quick with the action that like it's probably exacerbating what I think is like basically the unnaturalness of it.
Yeah,
like,
and while
it doesn't look like it's a real person who's fighting them. That's basically the crack.
Indeed, and while we're on this opening scene, I feel sorry for the Marines. They just can't seem to kill anything. Like it's very sad, very sad.
And do you know what's more scandalous? They're using the same guns that Master Chief uses, but Master Chief kills every elite, and yet we've seen so far, thinking back to episode 1 of season 1 and episode 1 of season 2, that basically anyone who isn't a Spartan cannot kill any Covenant, basically. Well, definitely not elites, put it that way. Because in episode 1 of season 1, you've got the big defense scene. They've got the miniguns. The elites break through. They open fire with the miniguns. They don't kill any. Every bullet gets deflected. Literally 5 minutes later, Master Chief basically pulls off one of the miniguns and just mows like 3 or 4 down. And you sat there going, even... You can say that the Marines might not be as good, but the weight of numbers should basically mean that even by fluke, you kill one. Instead, that like they're immortal.
Yeah, against normal people, they seem to be indestructible, which I think is sad. Like obviously, elites are a difficult opponent for standard Marines, but then just have the Marines gang up on them, 3 of them to take out 1 elite, or even 4 or 5 of them. That would be fine. It's the fact that they can't even kill 1. It makes them seem so pathetic, and I think that's a very poor representation of the Marines in this show.
But the Marines should be the weight of numbers. Like, it should be, there's absolutely shit tons of them. If you had equal number with elites, the elites are literally going to tear them apart. But if you've got 20 Marines to every elite, just by sheer weight of numbers, granted, I don't expect them all to live, but by sheer weight of numbers, they should kill at least a few. And I think the case and point of this was towards the end, it might actually be the end of episode 2, where you had the 2 squads of Marines. So you had like 12 Marines or something like that in that corridor. First and foremost, if you're defending that object, why are you advancing into this enemy that's basically coming towards you? Wouldn't you take defensive positions? Mm-hmm. Secondly, 12 Marines versus 1 elite, and the elite literally rips them all apart. And then says there's no honor in this fight. They're all useless. So what's the point of the UNSC? It might as well not exist.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe they'll come into play a bit more when we start to have fights with the other species within the Covenant, and we'll get more grander scale battles than just these small one-on, like just seeing John fight. It would be nice to actually see some grander fights, which I think is what season 2 is probably going to lead to with regards to the Fall of Reach. I think there'll be a much grander battle scale, which I'm looking forward to if it does happen. However, so after the opening scene in episode 1, it kind of just gets a bit dull, in all honesty, because it's a lot of talking just about like the governing body are falsifying the story about what happened on the planet Sanctuary, and it's John trying to argue that he hasn't lost his mind after having Cortana ripped out of his head at the end of the previous season. So definitely, I would definitely say it's a slower start than
It's
season one.
it's a slow burner. Like, it is
Mm.
really slow. It feels as though they're building up to basically something bigger later in the season. But it definitely felt really slow. Like, there wasn't much happening. Like, the number of times where John runs back to the Oni boss and he's like, oh, tell them what they're getting into. Why won't you trust me? Unleash the squad and all this sort of stuff. And I'm sure they do that about 4 times during the first 2 episodes, 3 or 4 times. And there's a lot of that. It seems it's hard to know, even if a lot of the stuff they've got in the 2 episodes is actually even character developmental. Like, there's little bits which you go, okay, that might have an effect later on, but there's quite a significant amount which you sat there going, the point of this is. And I may well be judging. I am judging it based on 2 episodes. I'm not maybe judging it. I am, but I just hope that a lot of this stuff that seems initially maybe not that interesting actually has some sort of place in the rest of the season. Because if not, the first 2 episodes will go down significantly with regards to how it's rated.
Yeah, I'm confident that there is going to be something. This is leading to something. Like just at the end of the second episode, where John has essentially taken his squadron, Silver Squadron, to a different flight path, and essentially has lied to them that they actually have permission to go on this mission. So I'm hoping that episode 3 starts off with a bang, because he's essentially going to find out what happened to Cobalt Squad. So I'm optimistic for the beginning of episode 3, which I assume it's 1 episode a week. So
yeah, well, you would assume that if they are going to invade Reach, there's going to be precursors at some point in the next couple of episodes, because we're led to believe that they are on Reach. We've seen them killing Marines, so we assume that that is on Reach as well. In fact, it says Reach, I think, in the bottom corner. So clearly, they're probably going to find that the Covenant are on Reach. There's also a bit of a cliffhanger as to what the Oni boss is discussing with Cortana when she says it's 97% likely. My personal take is that either Reach is going to be the next target, or the guy is dying. But I think it's probably Reach is going to be the next target. I think you had a very interesting point, though, on that, though.
Yeah, my interpretation was that there's a 97% chance that they're going to lose the war.
Yeah.
That the Covenant is going to manage to get the key, manage to get to the artifact, and use it as a weapon to annihilate the human race. That was my interpretation of it. But of course, after we've had this discussion, your 2 options are just as likely, to be honest.
Yeah. I think it's more likely. I think before you said that, I'd never thought of that. When you said that, I think my order goes Reach is the next target. And probably the scenario was, is there anything we can do to save Reach?
Mm.
And I think that might have been the question. After that, I think it's yours. And then lastly, I think it's got anything to do with him dying. Because personally, I don't think he's going to be relevant enough of a character, basically long term, to worry too much about.
No, I think he's going to die in this season.
Yeah.
Also, what did you think about Spartan 66? I think his sign was.
I've literally got notes about this, and I did not mention this to you. So when he got captured, right, there are several shots of the camera where you can see the wall in the blackness. You can actually make out the wall, and there's nobody there. He then shines a torch into the blackness, and there's nobody there. And then out of the blackness, 6 guys appear.
Mm.
Like, they weren't there. I'm going to say this. I watched the episode twice, and I watched that part 4 times. And you can clearly see the wall when it pans onto the camera on the guy holding the door, you can see the wall on basically the right side, and you can see a bit on the left, and there isn't a soul there. You can clearly see the metal wall. And they just appear, and I'm like, oh, sod off.
My problem was with that whole thing, the conversation he has with his wife before he goes on this mission, and you just know he's like, oh, okay, he's not coming back from this mission. It's quite clear. This isn't foreshadowing. This is just telling us that your husband is either going to die or something bad is going to happen to him on this mission.
It's also, I'm pretty sure he got screwed over by his crew. Like, his crew are seeming dodgier and dodgier as that episode went on. Like, they deliberately left him. Like, basically there was a payoff because they thought that they could advance in the pirate society by getting rid of him.
But again, his wife said that his crew wasn't happy with him because of the last haul that he didn't split properly with them. So again, that was completely...
Yeah.
She knew that something was going to happen pretty much, and she's telling the audience, well, maybe it's not intentionally, but she's telling the audience that, oh yeah, my husband has lost his touch as the pirate king, and someone's going to try and stab him in the back. And it was obvious that this is the mission that was going to happen on.
Personally, I think he's going to end up on Reach, and he's probably going to end up fighting with John against the Covenant. And
then, of course.
And then, if I was to take a random throw of a dart, he's probably going to die saving John's life.
Potentially. I can't see it.
It's the sort of writing trope that we've seen a million times and from a million miles off. And I could just see that happening because it's his childhood friend.
See, I get that, but I'm also thinking John owes him, I think. If you look
so you
at
think John might break him out?
No, not necessarily break him out, but I think he'll use him as the fall of Reach as a way to get him out. Okay, it actually would be breaking him out, but use him to help defend Reach. And yeah, I think they want to. I think John's going to be the one to step up and not obviously sacrifice his life because we know John's not going to die, but sacrifice something to help him, because he only gave him 5 minutes to escape originally, and the pirate guy 66 has helped John out in season 1. So I don't know.
I think it's gonna. You may well be right, but it's gonna go one of those ways.
Well, I'm excited to find out. I genuinely am.
One thing I did want to discuss is why did they change the way the Cortana looks? I mean, I know you're not happy with the CGI in season 1 for Cortana or season 2, but I thought that the way that she looks in season 1 would at least semi-resembled the Cortana that I vaguely remember from Halo 1 and, Halo 1, 2, and 3. Whereas the new Cortana does not resemble either Cortana from season 1 or or in my opinion, the Cortana from the games.
I'll be honest, I don't have an opinion on this because I can't remember how Cortana really looks from the games. But yeah, from season 1 to season 2, she definitely looks slightly different. I don't know if that's because maybe they're making it. Maybe it's when she gets back with John later in the season, maybe she'll revert back. Maybe it's because she only wants to look a certain way for John or something like that. I don't know. Maybe that's overthinking it though.
Yeah. I mean, I guess one question to ask is, how do you feel in comparison? I mean, we've got season 1, we've got season 2. So far, how would you kind of compare them against each other?
I'd say first 2 episodes of season 1 better than season 2. However, I will say that if season 2 goes where we think it's going to go with the fall of Reach, then I think the slow burn is actually a good way to start off the season.
Yeah. So that's the thing with season 2. If the payoff is there, then these episodes will be worthwhile, which was what I was alluding to with how basically the rating of these episodes could fall quite significantly in my eyes, depending upon how that payoff comes out. If the payoff is there, then the season could be actually pretty decent. I don't intrinsically hate it, but I haven't really seen much that would make me say I am enjoying this. It's more I am watching it. It's okay. It's perfectly forgettable, which, I'll be honest, having rewatched season one was perfectly forgettable because I could barely remember what happened in it. So I'm hoping that there's a payoff which kind of makes everything that comes before worth it, but it has to be done well because it's not even that we've got obviously other so the Fall of Reach to compare it to. We're starting to move into the territory of the games with regards to the storyline because season 1 had nothing to do with the game. But season 2, we're going to have Halo Reach. Wasn't Halo ODS? Was ODST around about now as well?
I believe so, but I'd have to check.
Yeah. So, like, you're starting to move into the area where you're going to have, like, direct comparisons with the games or the lore that is in the games rather than what they've set up and changed basically in their universe. And I think that could potentially end up being more damaging, or if what they do has that good payoff, then it'll be okay to be different because it's enjoyable. But I think there's a very thin line, and I'm trying to reserve being too critical of it just yet, in case a lot of the things that basically they're setting up do actually work out.
I'm staying optimistic that the payoff's going to be worth it. I'm feeling that the second half of season 2, I think it's going to be big. I think it's going to be big.
Well, my only concern with season 2, I know I've said this to you before, and I said it quite flippantly to you last week as well. My main concern about this is that we have the Fall of Reach, and basically the causal fact for why Reach falls is the fact that he got sucked in by the Covenant spy.
Yeah. Which isn't, again, I don't mind adaptations to the video games, to whatever. I'm really not against that because you can't.
I just feel like it'll be a character assassination almost of Master Chief. I mean, it shows him as being flawed.
Yeah. And we'll see if they give him a nice redemption arc with regards to it. Like, or maybe this actually, like, maybe he realizes that he's the reason that Reach fell, and then that we get some awesome character development with him in that regard.
Yeah. The thing is, so much is going to depend on how I think there's 8 episodes or 9 episodes in this season, so it's going to depend on how the other episodes play out, and ultimately why Reach falls. I mean, the reality is, whether or not there was a Covenant spy or not, the Covenant clearly outclass the UNSC. They quite clearly are better. So basically, the humans were always probably going to lose the war just through strength of arms. But yeah, it just depends how it's going to play. I don't want to dwell on it too much, because if it ends up being blatantly obvious that the only reason this happens is because John made a boo-boo, I think that's going to subtract quite a lot.
We'll find out more of the story next week when we watch episode 3.
Yes. And with that, that's kind of our initial thoughts of the first 2 episodes of Halo. We'll be back next Friday discussing episode 3, kind of building on how we feel it's moving forward from these 2 episodes as well. Maybe doing a little bit of recap, context, all of that sort of stuff. But yeah, if you've enjoyed it, obviously subscribe, give us a like. Feel free to comment below. We do try to respond to all the comments we get. But we'll see you next time.
See ya.